The waiting room of St. Raphael's Hospital in Enugu smells like antiseptic and old grief. It is 6:47 in the morning when Nkechi Obi, 23 years old, drops to her knees beside her grandmother's hospital bed and begins to pray. She has been awake for 31 hours. Her grandmother, Mama Lolo, whose real name is Eunice Chukwu, 78 years old, lies still beneath a thin hospital sheet, an IV needle taped to the back of her hand, her chest rising and falling in shallow, uncertain waves. The doctors have said what doctors say when they have run out of options: prepare yourselves. But Nkechi is not prepared. She refuses to be. What follows is not simply a story about prayer. It is a story about a family fracturing and holding, about guilt dressed up as silence, about old women who carried entire generations on their backs without ever being thanked, and about one young woman who chose, against all reason, against exhaustion, against the whispered ridicule of her own relatives, to believe that love, focused and desperate and relentless enough, could reach somewhere medicine could not. Welcome to Stories, the home of Africa, best folk tales and real stories. Like and don't forget to subscribe to the channel. The nursing home where Nkechi Obi works smells like lavender disinfectant. It is Wednesday evening in Houston, Texas. She is 23, pushing a medication cart down a quiet corridor when her phone buzzes. The caller ID reads Uncle Bart. Bartholomew Chukwu only calls when something has gone wrong. Your grandmother collapsed. St. Raphael's Hospital. It is serious. He delivers it like an announcement. Nkechi books a flight before she even hangs up. On the plane, the flashback comes. She is 9 years old, sitting on the steps of Mama Lolo's compound in Enugu with a small backpack. Her mother Sandra had left 4 days earlier just to sort some things in Lagos and never came back. Mama Lolo found her there at dawn, still waiting. The old woman sat beside her, shoulders touching, both of them watching the gate, then quietly, "Come inside. I am making a kara." No long speech, no blame, just come inside. Nkechi lived with Mama Lolo for 9 years after that. Through school fees pressed into her palm every Monday, through fevers and heartbreaks and prize-giving days where Mama Lolo sat front row in her coral beads, clapping louder than every other parent. She lands in Enugu at dawn and finds Ward 7. Mama Lolo, Eunice Chukwu, 78 years old, lies still beneath a thin hospital sheet, IV needle taped to the back of her hand, chest rising in shallow, uncertain waves. "I'm here, Mama," Nkechi whispers, taking the old woman's hand. "I'm here." Behind her, the door opens. The family has arrived. By 9 in the morning, the corridor outside Ward 7 has become a Chukwu family gathering, which means it has become, within the hour, a conflict wearing the costume of concern. Bartholomew arrives in an embroidered senator suit, immediately overriding the nurses his sister Rosaline has already spoken to. His wife Philomena drifts through the ward with her phone camera open, photographing Mama Lolo's cabinet and personal items. Taking inventory, Rosaline, 53, heavyset, quietly essential to everyone and invisible to all of them, had called the ambulance, signed the forms, slept in the plastic chair all night. Bartholomew walks past her like furniture. Cousin Desmond, 26 and bitter, arrives unshaven. "The American has landed," he announces loudly when he sees Nkechi. "How is Houston?" She tells him to keep his voice down. He retreats to the corridor with his phone. Sandra arrives last, heels clicking on hospital tile, weeping beautifully. She embraces Nkechi for the audience, says my daughter," into her hair. Something genuine lives beneath Sandra's performance. It always has, which is what makes her impossible to simply walk away from. In the bed, 2 spaces from Mama Lolo's, Mrs. Agatha Nweke, 70, a retired schoolteacher, watches the family dynamics with unsurprised patience. When Nkechi passes, she says quietly, "Your grandmother spoke to me this morning," she said. "My Nkechi is coming. When she comes, everything will be all right." Nkechi carries that into the evening like a stone in her pocket, heavy and real and grounding. At 7 in the evening, Dr. Emeka Eze gathers the family. "Multi-organ stress, mild stroke, stable but not improving. Begin preparing yourselves." Bartholomew nods and steps away to make calls. Philomena's eyes go to her phone. Sandra sinks into a chair. Nkechi walks back down the corridor, past all of them, closes the ward door behind her, pulls a chair to Mama Lolo's bedside, and begins. "Father, I know I haven't talked to you like this in a long time, but I am talking now. The first hours are orderly, structured prayers, clear requests. By hour 4, the sentences break apart. Her voice cracks and comes back. She shifts between prayer and him. What a friend we have in Jesus, all our sins and griefs to bear." Desmond opens the door at 10 o'clock. "Come and eat." Auntie Rosaline brought food. "I'm fine. You've been in here for 3 hours. I know. He lingers. Then quietly, almost a question. You really think this will work? She doesn't turn around. I think I am not stopping. Mrs. Agatha awake across the ward, folds her arthritic hands and prays without announcement, simply adding her voice to the room. Young Nurse Blessing stands outside the door in the small hours, listening, unable to explain why she cannot walk away. Nkechi keeps going. Between the 9th and 10th hour, the formal prayers dissolve and something rawer comes out. I didn't call enough, she tells Mama Lolo's still face. I told myself I was busy, but sometimes I didn't call, because hearing your voice and then hanging up meant crying in my car for 20 minutes before I could drive home. I was tired of crying in parking lots. She squeezes the motionless hand. I have your photograph as my phone wallpaper. 2 years, Mama. Every morning I wake up and see your face before I see anything else. You are not allowed to leave without saying goodbye. Sandra is standing in the corridor. Has been for an hour. Pressed against the wall by the door left slightly open. She came to check on Nkechi and heard her voice and could not move. Because what Nkechi is describing, the calls that hurt too much to make, the love maintained in private silence, Sandra knows this landscape. She has lived it for 30 years, except in her version. The woman she loves and cannot reach is not a grandmother. It is Mama Lolo. Sandra left at 22 for a man named Patrick, who wanted a wife with no other loyalties. She told herself it was temporary. 2 weeks, she would stabilize and return. Patrick left her within the year. By then, the absence had calcified into something she couldn't explain or reverse. She called Mama Lolo regularly at first, then less, then almost never, because a parent's silent disappointment was somehow harder than anger. Standing in this corridor now, Sandra Obi begins to cry without audience, without performance. Just. Finally. Hour 12. Grey morning light through the window slats. Nkechi mid-sentence. I just need more time with her, God, just more time. When Mama Lolo's fingers tighten around hers, she looks up. The old woman's eyes open slowly, surfacing from deep water, and find Nkechi's face. A long silence then, dry thread then, unmistakably hers. Nkechi, you are here. I'm here, Mama. I'm here. I'm here. Go and call the doctor, and stop this noise. You will wake the whole hospital. Nkechi laughs through tears, Mrs. Agatha covers her face with both hands, laughing and crying simultaneously. Rosaline grabs Mama Lolo's feet through the blanket and bends forward like a woman in worship. Doctor. Easy arrives, checks everything carefully, asks simple orientation questions. Mama Lolo answers each with mild irritation. I know where I am. The mattress is too flat. The doctor looks at the monitors, looks at Nkechi and says quietly, This is not where I expected her to be this morning. Bartholomew pushes the door open and stands at his mother's feet, all the authority stripped away. Mama, he says in a child's voice. You were already making burial plans, she says. Don't lie to me. The ward goes silent. Then Mrs. Agatha laughs, the big helpless laugh of someone who has seen enough of life to appreciate its timing. It spreads through the room. Even Blessing presses her hand over her mouth, shaking. Later, Mama Lolo asks the room to clear and keeps only Sandra. 20 minutes. No one learns exactly what passes between them, but Sandra emerges with her makeup completely gone and the look of a woman who has set down something she carried for 30 years. She finds Nkechi in the corridor. I'm sorry. I know that's not enough. I'm just starting with it. Nkechi looks at her mother for a long time. Okay, we can start with it. 3 weeks later, Mama Lolo is in a recovery room with better light. The family does not leave entirely. Mama Lolo herself makes Rosaline visible. In front of everyone, clearly. Rosaline called the ambulance. She slept in that chair 2 nights. I am saying this so nobody forgets. She looks at Bartholomew. He looks at the floor. Then he turns to his sister and says her name like an apology. She calls him Bart, his childhood name. He hasn't heard it from her in 15 years. Something softens permanently. Desmond comes alone on a Thursday and tells Nkechi the truth. He couldn't enter the prayer room because he was afraid of failing at one more thing. I'm going to try school again, he says on his way out. One more time. For myself, not my father. She nods. One more time is all you need. Philomena brings food twice. Good food. The property photographs stop. She is not transformed, but she is quieter, and quieter is something. Mrs. Agatha is discharged on Friday. She stops at Mama Lolo's door. God kept us both. Mama Lolo, he had no choice. We didn't give him any. They exchange numbers. They will call each other on Sundays. Nkechi extends her ticket twice. 5 weeks total. She is surrounded by noise and cooking smells and neighbors greeting each other across fences, and she is less lonely than she has been in 2 years. Sandra stays the full 5 weeks. The longest she has stayed anywhere since 2003. She and Nkechi don't have one big healing conversation. They have small ones. What did you eat? The traffic on Ogi Road is terrible. Mama Lolo wants garden egg stew. The slow rebuild. It is not forgiveness yet. It is the beginning of it, which is the part that matters. Mama Lolo is discharged on a bright Tuesday. Bartholomew helps her into his car with a gentleness that surprises everyone. The family crowds in. Rosaline, Desmond, Sandra, Nkechi. The city moves past outside. Mama Lolo takes Nkechi's wrist, says something in Igbo. Rosaline translates softly. A tree that survives a storm does not survive because the storm was small. It survives because the roots went deep before the storm arrived. You put down deep roots for this family. I want you to know that I know that. The car is quiet. Outside, Enugu continues. Yellow buses, pepper sellers, school children in uniforms, ordinary life, unaware of what happened in Ward 7. Inside, Nkechi holds her grandmother's hand and looks at the road ahead. So much is still unresolved. But Mama Lolo is alive. She is here, and the roots held. That is enough to start with.